Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel for Peacefully Wired. My name is Matt, aka Peacefully Wired. Welcome back to another episode here. In this video, I want to talk about how OCD does not care about your sexuality. And I can do a bunch of videos about how OCD doesn't care about your health, your harm, doesn't care about your relationship. But let's specifically want to focus on HOCD in this one. Before I go any further, please like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you think about the content. So let's look at what the driving factor with HOCD is. What is at stake, or what's at play? It's your unrelenting, black and white, rigid, irrational belief that being gay for you would be the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And it's also the fear of rejection. You have only a handful of real fears that drive OCD, and they all come back to about 4 or 5. With fear of being gay, HOCD, sexual orientation OCD, you have a fear of rejection. Your fear of rejection is from yourself, from society, family, friends. Those are the two main things. And you have a black and white belief that if you were rejected by your family and your friends and society, that would be the worst thing in the world, that you couldn't live your life, conditional thinking and behaving, right? And you couldn't accept yourself and your life if you were gay. So that's why it's so important to work on beliefs and acceptance. If you can't accept that to some degree, that you might be gay, then how are you ever going to get underneath that fear? This is why I'm such a big opponent of thinking that ERP is the gold standard, or thinking that ego dystonic has any real relevance to your knowledge about what you're dealing with. Because no amount of me telling you that your thoughts go against your values is really going to help you when you're on the chronic level, suffering for years and years and years, not being able to accept and having this intense fear. If I was gay, my life would be over, right? If I was gay, I couldn't live my life. If I was gay, I'd have to leave my wife and my family. That's another fear that you have, right? There's the fear of like never being with a woman again, right? And if you're someone who doesn't have a family, then your fear of never being able to have a family. If you have a family, having to leave my family, right? And breaking all that stuff down. Would it be the worst thing in the world if you lost your wife and kids? Well, and we could talk about different ways that could happen. You could lose your wife and kids in an accident. They could be in the car somewhere and you're not with them, and they get into a fatal accident and they're no longer with us. If you have the extreme irrational black and white belief, like my life could not go on, and you have OCD and you have that condition, my life would not be able to go on if that happened. You're not only going to have, you're not only going to have concern about them being harmed, right? You'll have, I'm kind of getting into another theme, but you'll not only have concern about them being harmed, which you'll always be checking, but that can turn into magical thinking where you're trying to do things to keep them safe, or you're always trying to be with them, or make, whatever, you're trying to control the situation, but it also will creep into you experiencing harmful thoughts about them, right? Either them being harmed or you doing harm to them. But back to the HOCD, right? If you have that belief that black and white, hey, if my family left me, or if I had to leave them for some reason, that my life would be over and ruined, you're cooked, as my coach would like to say, right? You're cooked. OCD has you, essentially. If you have the rigid black and white belief and thinking that if you were gay, that your life would be over and be ruined, then you're cooked, right? Is why acceptance is so important. How are you going to move past something if you weren't able to legitimately, unconditionally accept it? It doesn't mean that you like it. It doesn't mean that if your wife and kids got in the car one day to go to the store and never came back, okay, for any reason, right? Your wife, you think everything's going great, and your wife just takes the kids and just leaves and you never hear from them again, right? Or potentially they lose their lives. If you have that fear and you think your life wouldn't be able to go on, if you can't unconditionally accept, not agree with, that doesn't mean that you like it. It would mean that you would essentially be very disappointed, obviously. But if you have the belief that it would ruin your life, then it would ruin your life, and you'd carry that with you for the rest of your life. And if you have OCD, that's not going to be a fun journey for you. Again, being gay, right? If you couldn't look and see that there are gay men or women in the world, if you're a guy, or a girl that has HOCD, or we'll call it sexual orientation, because I know there's a flip side of people that are gay that have concerns about being straight, which is wild to think about, but it does exist. I haven't encountered anybody yet, but I do know that that's part of sexual orientation OCD, which is why I think that term is what a lot of people use. I see it used as HOCD a lot, but I also see people using the term sexual orientation OCD. So either way, right? If you couldn't go like, look, even if I was gay, there are plenty of people that accept themselves for being gay and live a life and have families, right? Then again, like, you're cooked, right? I'm not saying you agree with it. It's not saying, we're not saying like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just gay, and then you go out and you try to find a mate of the same sex. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, look, at some point, to get underneath that fear, so that's not driving. That's what drives the OCD, is your belief, your black and white belief. If I was gay, my life would be over. That's a black and white, irrational way to look at it, because there are people that are gay, right? Are there people that are gay that can't accept themselves and use a lot of excuses, who live lies, right? Who get married, have a family, maybe they're on the DL, okay, or maybe they have a lavender marriage, which is a term that I just became recently has been brought to my attention. Is that there are people that get married that are maybe both gay, one straight, one gay, whatever, and they get married because it's much easier for a straight couple to have children, and so they have kids together, but they live the separate lives sexually. Maybe they have relationships that they continue on while they don't have sex together, right? So there's all sorts of stuff like that. And again, it's irrational to think like, oh, if I was gay, I would never be able to have a family. If I was gay, I would never be able to be with a woman, because in that situation, you actually would share a home with a woman, and potentially probably be best friends and raise kids together. I mean, the only thing that would be missing would be the sexual aspect of that. And then you have to look at, like, sex is just a part of your life. It's not, you as a person are not defined by sex. And as men, we can believe that we are, and we can believe that our lives are defined by having sex. And that a woman is there for us to have sex with, and that's not what a woman is there for. I mean, a woman is there for so many different things. It's not just sex, but we really focus a lot on the sexual aspect of being a man, right? And there's a lot of pressure put on both sexes around sex. And the fact of the matter is that your identity, like being your sexual orientation, has nothing to do with who you are as a person. It's just a part of you, just like you're a parent, just like you're maybe a brother, maybe you're a son, you're a father, right? I already said parent, but you get what I'm saying, right? Those are just aspects of who you are. You're not a professional basketball player. That's not your identity. You're just someone who plays professional basketball. You're not a chef. That's not who you are. That's not your identity. You're a human who is a chef, right? So again, OCD does not care about your sexuality and the way that you're trying to make certain that you're not gay, right? Doing, like I did the other video about the posturing, all the stuff that you're doing to try to convince yourself and others that you're not gay. OCD doesn't care about any of that stuff. OCD cares about your belief about that thing. And so that's why it's so important to understand that about OCD. It's not about your sexuality. It's about your core fear and your black and white thinking about it that is driving it. And that goes for any theme. And I'll just probably do a bunch of videos like this about the different themes and about and using examples about how it's not about the thing that you're fearing. It's more about the belief about that. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Again, like and subscribe, comment down below. For one-on-one coaching sessions with me, it's support@peacefullywired.com. You can join our Peacefully Wired OCD community. If you're interested, let me know. I will shoot you the link. I have half of my students have HOCD. I had HOCD. I know how to navigate through it. I know how to navigate through OCD in general. I know all the nuances. and I can help you understand what it is and how to get through it. So please stay tuned, continue, and I will keep giving out some really great content. The Peacefully Wired community, there's a lot of content in there that goes deeper than what I talk about on the YouTube channel. There's a lot of different stuff in there that's very beneficial for looking at OCD in a holistic way. So I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.